Aloha and welcome to joining us here today. I'm a little flustered, but we're going to keep it calm, cool, and collected because our topic is going to address these very things about mindfulness and remaining calm and the spiritual leader and civic leader known as Gandhi. My name is Willow Chang and this is The Art of Living. You're joining us here on ThinkTech Hawaii. We're streaming live on Ustream. You can check our shows on YouTube and also at the thinktechhawaii.com website. And just to let you know, if you have a topic of interest or you'd like to be a guest here at our gallery, please feel free to contact Mr. J. Fidel, and we can find out if we can make that magic happen for you. So, it's a wonderful Aloha Friday, and I have a wonderful guest with me today. He's a longtime friend and a colleague and someone that I admire greatly. And continuing with our theme of people who prevent cultural erosion that help enrich Hawaii and make it a more unique and diverse place.
Yes.
We have Raj Kumar. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me here.
I'm so glad that you could join us. Now, we have a lot of things to discuss today, so I'm going to try to find a way to keep it moving smoothly. But first of all, I'd love for our audience to know a little bit about you, how you came to Hawaii, what motivates you, and what is your goal in this thing we call life?
My brother, Dr. Krishna Kumar, has been my guide since I was in high school. He inspired me to become a psychologist, and he molded my personality into that area and then helped me to get the higher education in the field of psychology. And then I came in Hawaii in 1989, and since then this is my home. I love because we live in a diverse community and it's a beautiful place. It's paradise. I enjoy living in here.
It's a wonderful place. So you mentioned that you're in psychology, but you do many other things as well. You're an activist, you're an author. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
I have published 3 books, From Darkness to Light, The Secrets of Health and Healing, and Pearls of Wisdom for Everyday Living. And I'm publishing 2 more books at the end of this year. One is about Gandhi, Anger and Nonviolence. The other one is known as Cosmic Meditation.
I like the sound of that, Cosmic Meditation. So we have a visual here so people can see this book, The Secrets of Health and Healing. Heal your body, mind, and spirit through ancient wisdom, methods, and techniques. Now, it seems like right now there's a paradigm shift, as some would say, where people are perhaps rediscovering or they have a renewed interest in the ancient ways. Do you find that this is true?
This is true because after my heart surgery in 1989, I healed myself through the methods of Ayurveda, which is a science of life, a well-defined alternative medicine system, which is 5,000 years old. I read a lot about it and practiced those things on myself, and after that I became a certified healer or wellness counselor. So since then I believe more in Ayurveda than other Western medicine.
I have to put in 2 cents. So 2 weeks ago we did the show from Kauai, and that was at a classical Indian Odissi retreat, and the food that we were served was all Ayurveda cuisine and things that were green eating and healthy eating, obviously. I would love for you if you could speak a little bit about Ayurveda, because I think, and I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, so forgive me, but it is so specific and it is so tailored to the individual. And I think that that's something that perhaps in some ways our modern medicine has lost sight of. We take one pill and it's supposed to be a one-size-fits-all, and people really aren't one-size-fits-all.
We live in a pill-popping society where many pharmaceutical companies have made all kind of medicine for all purposes, but as you said, one-size-fits-all doesn't fit everybody. So Ayurveda is a very custom designed kind of special treatment. It all starts with the observation, pulse diagnosis. In the Western science, doctor check the pulse and blood pressure, and then send the person for a kind of lab work or exam, and after that they determine what should be the right diagnosis. But in Ayurveda, with pulse diagnosis, you don't need to go to a lab or to determine what kind of diagnosis. You can tell or find or detect the problem you have for 20 years, 30 years without any imaging or lab work. So that's the beauty of Ayurveda. Through the pulse exam, we determine whether a person has a personality known as Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Vata people are like always on the go. Pitta people are very sensitive, moody, and Kapha people have a tendency to be very slow in their life, stay cool, you know, like people in Hawaii, just so, and or heavyweight, with the heavyweight. So that's, there are 3 personality types, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Then we talk about the mental constitution, which is called Sattva, which is kind of spiritual people. Rajas people are who have more desires or passionate people about worldly material possessions. And Tamas people are like ignorant or arrogant people who believe in drug and violence.
Absolutely. And I think that the categorization, it's not necessarily about labeling. People get kind of nervous about labeling because they think it's the same as judgment. But to understand and to acknowledge that there are different dynamics within our world is no different than realizing there's different types of flowers, there's different types of jasmine, there's different types of rice, there's different kinds of waves, there's different types of clouds. So how would you say that this approach aids in the pursuit of what we just call peace, the understanding of the body and the mind? How does that help integrate the pursuit of cultivating peace?
Okay, peace cannot begin without having a happiness, harmony, or health. So that's the basis of peace. And a perfect state of health exists when you have a balance at the mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual level.
Right.
So one need to determine or find out what's going on in my life. According to all the psychological research, more than 50% doctors visit to the office are related to stress. So we need to determine and find out what's causing stress. According to the research, is the financial part is causing stress. Then people are having stress at work, or people are having stress in their relationships, or finances, or business, or failure, or unemployment. So if you determine what's causing me the stress, you consult with a psychologist or counselor or mental health professional. And if you have gone too far, you have developed some physical problems or disease, then you need to see the specialist of that area to rule out what has happened and how I can recover. According to Ayurveda, good food is just like a medicine.
Yes.
If you make some good changes in your lifestyle, change your diet from eating meat 5 times a week to 3 times a week, or slowly just discontinue it, and then add some good nutrition per dietitian's advice or doctor's advice, and then do yoga, exercise, Pilates, or Zumba dance, or dancing, just like what you teach. Those are the good changes. And then make sure you have 8 hours of sleep and drink 7 to 10 glasses of water, and eat your breakfast by 8 o'clock, lunch by 1 o'clock, and dinner by 8 o'clock.
Oh my goodness, and those are probably rules that are very challenging for people who are on the go or who keep multiple jobs and what have you. You mentioned something of interest, and that was about decreasing the meat consumption. So many people feel that the appropriate thing to do, and they make one size fits all, is that they say hard and fast you should eliminate meat. I've grappled with this in many different times, and I go through fits and spurts of trying to eliminate meat simply because I understand the impact that it has globally on the ecosystem, but I also understand that different people have different needs. What do you think is the long-term link between the changing of your consciousness and the consciousness of society with the consumption of meat?
First of all, we should remember or be aware that animals have life also. We should have reverence for all sentience on this earth. And when people slaughter them, the emotion, the pain they go through during that moment, that transfers into that meat. Everything stops right there. And the way meat is preserved in the supermarket, that's not healthy either. And then whenever, according to Ayurveda, when you eat frozen food or meat, that causes constipation. And according to Ayurveda, constipation is the mother of all diseases. So there are so many links. And according to research also, meat is one of the major causes of cancer.
This is true. So how would you say that your personal experience with your health and your heart, how did that result in different choices that you made in your life?
I had a great shift in my consciousness, and then I became very spiritual, and I started to live a very simple life. And then since then, I'm not on a special diet or on any medication for my heart. My blood pressure is very normal. I feel very young at my heart. I can do the same thing, same kind of energy what I had 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's all about the positive thinking, balance in life, and discipline in your daily routine and activities.
Absolutely. So I think something that our viewers might be concerned about, and I could be wrong, but sometimes the idea of promoting peace or to have a stressless life or to make healthy choices, it can be very overwhelming. People
Correct.
probably think, why do I have to do this? I have bills to pay, I've got to put food on the table, I've got kids to take to soccer practice and what have you. Instead of perhaps thinking that you have to change everything, I think the importance of perspective comes into play. So if you were to suggest 3 things that might be accessible or maybe not a whole overhaul of someone's life but would still give them a great impact, what 3 things off the top of your mind would be helpful in that pursuit?
Well, the joy of life is in simplicity. Live within your means, cut down your expenses, live and pay down all your debts, what you have, then only then you can be stress-free, and start saving for your future, because someday Social Security may not be there, so you have to count on your own incomes or savings for retirement. Or third, do the financial planning with a counselor or a CPA, that how much money I should be spending every month and how much I should save and how much I should save it on side for my college tuition for my children. So those 3 things are important.
So I find your answer interesting because you definitely touched on things that were of a fiscal or economic matter. And this is something that the peanut gallery likes to say is, well, it's easy for Gandhi because he was just an ascetic and he walked the land, and or it's easier for a Buddhist monk who has a bowl and people provided feed for them, or people who are sequestered and cloistered off in retreats. This is often perhaps an excuse or a reason given why it's easier for someone to attain enlightenment. You're addressing that you understand it's important that in this modern world, and even generations before, financial matters had to be taken care of. Do you think that there is a link between the financial ills that the world is experiencing and is it paired with the consciousness or the change or shift in consciousness?
It's all about human greed. The Wall Street meltdown we had in 2008, the world is suffering from a global recession. And we are all paying those debts for somebody else's mistakes, you know. If I steal a bottle of vodka from a liquor store, I will be arrested. But nobody has been arrested from Wall Street for their crime they have committed, and then whole world is suffering.
You're not supposed to notice that.
But I'm making a point that,
Yes.
you know, what has happened that has taken us down, and the whole world is suffering from the recession right now, you know. So there's a lot of unemployment happening all around the world. So much developed country also rely on the help of US and Russia and England, and now they don't have good business either. So it's a domino effect happening around the world.
Definitely a domino effect. And I think that you said something of, well, you've said many things of interest, but concerning this financial malaise that everyone is feeling in different degrees. I went to Athens this summer to teach, and I was surprised between my last visit there in 2009 and 2006 how their economy is coping, and I see this trickle down clearly in the arts community as well, the lack of disposable income that people once felt comfortable spending. So it's a real thing. I think everyone has felt it in different ways. That being said, some have said that with these economic hardships or challenges, there's been a return to, again, reprioritizing things of interest, living within their means, downsizing, volunteering, looking within. Have you seen this personally within your practice or within your circle of friends?
Well, I myself have followed the principle of Mahatma Gandhi, who brought his life to bare minimum things. Whatever he had, he donated to people so other people can enjoy or live a simple life. And then he did not keep any possession or material possession. So he lived like a beggar or monk, you know.
Right.
So in this modern time, we cannot live, it's hard for us to live like a monk, but you can still maintain simplicity in your daily life, you know, and do not compare yourself with others. Show gratitude what you have. Do not complain what you don't have. And never compare yourself with the people who live in a rich, fancy environment, or they have more material possession, big house or Mercedes car or something. We all have good things or bad things happening in our life based on our deeds or past actions we have committed or done. So we all go through the cycles, you know. After every sunset, there is a dawn. So when you're going through some pain and suffering in your life, do not give up, you know. Continue to have a hope that you will have a better life if you make good efforts, refresh or renew your karma.
I couldn't agree more. And on that wonderful note, we're going to take a short break, but we'll be back very soon. Thank you for joining us.
I'm Bill Spencer, President of the Hawaii Venture Capital Association. We do monthly luncheon programs with ThinkTech about things that matter to Hawaii entrepreneurs, investors, and business service providers. So join us on the fourth Thursday of every month at the Plaza Club. For information about upcoming events or to join our mailing list, visit hvca.org. See you there.
Welcome and thank you for joining us again. We are airing from ThinkTech Hawaii, and this show is called The Art of Life. I'm your host, Willow Chang, and today I have Raj Kumar joining us today. Let me say today 3 more times. And we are discussing the pursuit of peace, personal peace, global harmony, as well as the life and the times of Mahatma Gandhi. Thank you for joining us again.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
If you are just joining us, you had said something very interesting, which was to the effect that you shouldn't compare yourself to others. And I could not agree with this more. I personally think, as many do, that comparison plants a seed of discontentment and unhappiness. Would you like to elaborate on
It makes you feel inferior, that I means nothing, or I'm very inferior than others. They have more wealth, or they have more possession, or they have a better spouse, or a car, or a job. So be happy and satisfy what you have, because the truth of life is that we do not bring anything to this world. All material collection we gain from here and lose here, and we go back to heaven empty-handed. So be happy whatever you have, as long as you have a shelter or food to eat, or have a job or business to run your life. There's no end of desires.
I agree, and I would have to add to that, in addition to people perhaps comparing themselves and thinking what they have is not good enough, the flip side of that is people who think that they're better than somebody. And that, I think, is also a social ill. So to put on airs, to assume that you're better, to think that you're entitled, that can present its own problem. I think social media often has been accused of this, fostering this at times, where people only choose the highlight reel of their life, which in some ways could be a positive thing, because maybe you're focusing on what you're grateful for. But if it's done with the intent of making people feel miserable or somehow lesser, it can plant those very seeds of sadness.
Yeah, when you compare yourself, it creates a sense of inferiority and unhappiness and dissatisfaction in life, and that disturbs your state of mind. When your state of mind is disturbed, your sleep is disturbed, and then your total consciousness is affected. So you cannot function as a normal person anymore. You will be competing with others, you'll be aggressive with others, you can be triggered for a small reason, you can be violent within a second with other people. So you have to rediscover yourself, who you are, where you are in life, how I can gain good things in life versus just running after money or material possessions.
I agree. Now this might sound contradictory, and even though I said it's not good to necessarily compare yourself, I do think that aspiring to emulate or to be inspired by somebody's actions, a great leader or someone within your community, even a family member, a friend, can actually be beneficial. That can warrant some positive effects. And what a nice segue to go right into our man Gandhi.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the relationship that you have, perhaps growing up, what you were taught in school, or how he was revered in your country, or how you think his legacy has been perpetuated. Do you feel that it's accurate? Do you think that it has been glossed over? Do you think he isn't given enough due? What's your take on the whole situation?
My father was a follower of Mahatma Gandhi. I was a follower of Mahatma Gandhi from my childhood, and I am a follower of Mahatma Gandhi as I'm promoting his teachings around the world. He is known as a father of nation in India, and October 2nd has been declared as an official holiday for public. So in June 2007, United Nations also declared Mahatma Gandhi's birthday, October 2nd, as an International Day of Nonviolence. And since 2006 or 7, we have been celebrating Gandhi's birthday in Hawaii and raising awareness towards nonviolence and peace.
So I just want to, I hope I'm showing this to the right camera. I think everyone is familiar with Gandhi. Clearly in the United States, his name is often associated also with Dr. King.
Dr. Martin Luther King was a follower of Mahatma Gandhi. He did travel to India to adopt his methods of nonviolence, although he did not meet him personally, but he received a real practice or training from his follower, and he brought those methods to the United States. He had a choice to give any name to Gandhi's teaching, but he called it Gandhian methods. True nonviolence, passive resistance. So in Sanskrit it's known as ahimsa. Ahimsa means you do not harm others in your thoughts, words, and actions.
That's really wonderful. So I'm going to place this down here. And you said something again, when you speak, there's so many, like, my synapses are just firing off and they want to ask you all kinds of questions. Gandhi helped lead the Indian people to independence. He helped pave a way to achieve autonomy and independence from the colonial British rule. We're going to go there, people. Here in Hawaii, we have clearly a very complicated relationship over the years, being a territory and then being annexed and then becoming a state, and people have mixed feelings about this. But we do have an indigenous people here in Hawaii who have a different idea of what they would like to see for the future. Has there been a relationship or an outreach with Hawaiian activism and the approaches that Gandhi employed in India?
Gandhi started his nonviolence movement in South Africa when he was humiliated by a British rich person in the train. He was thrown out of the train, even he had a first-class ticket, but it was discriminated, and then he noticed so much discrimination happening in the community in South Africa. Thus, he used his skills and then opposed some of the bill which legislation passed there, and later on those bills were changed in favor of public. That's what the first victory Gandhi had in South Africa. Then he traveled to India a few times and he noticed the same discrimination happening with Indian people by the British. And then he opposed and he united people. Some people did not agree with his methods of nonviolence. They were young blood and they wanted to fight hard. But he approached and suggested them not to take the law in your hand, not to break the law, and then use the philosophy of Jainism, Buddha, and Ramayana, which were the main scripture of Indian culture. And he was deeply inspired, so he shared those messages with public. And finally, in 1947, we gained independence just because of one man's approach and movement. The whole country was inspired and gained freedom. Yeah.
I think if you're thinking of just numbers, some people are number crunchers. India has millions and millions of inhabitants, many cultural differences,
Correct.
many diverse groups. My goodness, hundreds upon hundreds of languages.
Yes.
When I try to wrap my mind around this idea that one gentleman, one individual could unite such a diverse group of people, it's only inspiring. What would you say about that?
Well, I'm proud to live in America, and I would like to say that India and US are the two largest democracies in the world, which promote diversity, human rights, freedom, and justice.
Absolutely. Now, we're going to do something that's topical, so when this is on file, you'll say, oh, that's old news. But right now, it's fresh. Our wonderful Miss America, American Indian descent, a Desi girl.
Yes.
Were you surprised, disappointed with some of the feedback on Twitter and social media? I mean, for myself, I was relieved because it was snuffed out very quickly and there was a big outrage. People were concerned about her ethnic background and felt she wasn't representative of the title, which clearly they're wrong, in my opinion. What did you feel when you read this?
This is all about jealousy and hatred, and it happened a century ago. Mm-hmm. During Gandhi's time. It's happening today. As long as we all know that we are part of the same creator who do not discriminate among human beings. Same thing, no matter where we come from, what language we speak, we are the same human being. We should not be known by our color or possession. We should be known or treated with respect, and we should be known by our good deeds.
I'm going to bring something up because I think I'm going to play the devil's advocate. The devil's advocate actually kind of bothers me personally, but I understand the purpose that it serves. sometimes people will say, oh, well, this person wrote a book, or this person is in a pageant, or they're a public speaker, and they do all these things that are good, but in their own life, you know, they kill mosquitoes. I mean, you hear the most ridiculous things like, well, does the Dalai Lama kill a mosquito? Or did you have a ham sandwich? Or are your shoes leather? Why do you think people feel, because you're a psychology person, why do you think people feel it's necessary to negate the good intentions and the good actions of people with always trying to counter it with something that they deem as a flaw or a setback?
I think in psychology we call it a defense mechanism. We always try to blame others for, or out of jealousy or out of losing something. But we should know that that girl has some good talents. That's why she reached to that point in the competition, and she was good in her performance, and that's how she deserved the title, and then she got it. So
to even do public speaking and not have cotton mouth with bright lights on you and probably Spanx, I'm assuming that's what the kids wear these days. I mean, in those heels, that's an amazing thing. You'll never have to wear Spanx or high heels, Raj, but for the ladies out there who know, it's not necessarily easy. On that strange transition, I would like to shift to something that is timely, that's up and coming, and that is Gandhi's birthday. And you have been basically putting together this celebration for several years now. Would you like to tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, I planted the seed of this organization known as Gandhi International Institute for Peace. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization based in Hawaii. I planted the seed of this organization on the day of 9/11. We all need to find a cause in our life and stick to it to do something better for humanity. And that day is just saddened me with the incidents of bombing in New York. I said, no, this is the time we need to bring Gandhi's teaching back to the modern world and do something. If we all just wait for the government or leaders to do something, nothing will change. We have to support government. We have to be a leader in our own community. We have to be an agent or an ambassador of peace. If we can start from a small level, from our community, from our workplace, from our state, we can be a national leader, we can be an international leader. We all have a potential to learn and grow, but if we just feel, no, I cannot do it, you will never do it. So I took a vow that day and started my mission, and today, this year, we're going to celebrate our 8th International Day of Nonviolence on October 2nd in Waikiki. It's free to public.
It's free, and something I appreciate is that you always have it on the actual day of his birth.
Yes, I like to celebrate the same day because people around the world, they're celebrating that day worldwide. We all need to be inspired by somebody's good deed or action or reminders, and we need to know if we can set one day a month that I want to be nonviolent, I want to be peaceful with my coworkers, I want to be nice or friendly to my friends, I want to be good to my children or more understanding and listener, and then help them out just on the weekend, spend quality time. That's how you create peace or happiness in your life. You know?
I couldn't agree more. My mama used to say, pick your battles wisely, or choose your battles wisely. This is an old adage. I'm sure many parents have told their kids that. Some might say that the issue there is that you're even using or invoking the concept of a battle, right? But I think it's important for us to keep this in mind, is that in life we are subject to things that are stressors. There's many different opinions, there's different approaches and outlooks. We always have the opportunity to make a choice of how we want to respond, if we want to respond, and then choosing to respond as opposed to reacting. What would you say could be something that would help people in this pursuit? Would it be a breathing exercise or counting to 3, or what things are helpful?
We have about 40,000 thoughts in one day. If we can, and out of 40,000, we have about 60 to 70% negative thoughts and 30% only positive thoughts. First, we have to be aware what I'm thinking, where I am, what I'm doing, what do I have to do next. So if we can take 3 deep breaths every 2 hours by setting an alarm or a clock, timer, and then that raise the awareness that, oh, every 2 hours I have to check on myself, what I'm thinking, how I'm breathing, where I am, what I have to do next. That will bring you in the present moment.
Okay.
Buddha said the joy of life is living in the present moment.
Yes,
So our mind is always running between past and future, just like a pendulum. And we have only 20% conscious in the present moment. Once you stop everything and be aware with your breathing system, and then you will bring a total awareness to yourself and environment, your 100% consciousness will guide you what to do next, and you will do things right.
Fantastic. Now, speaking of the present moment, I was just told by the omniscient voice of God that we must take a little break, but we're going to see you just in a moment. Stay tuned.
We want to thank our underwriters.
Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric on Maui and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company.
The High-Tech Development Corporation, the state's leading technology agency, attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Castle and Cook Hawaii, with a time-honored legacy that spans more than 160 years and revolves around its mission of investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state.
Hawaii Gas, formerly the Gas Company, a proponent of the Liquefied Natural Gas Initiative, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future.
Collateral Analytics, a Hawaii-based tech company empowering the real estate industry with greater and faster access to the tools and data they need to make better informed property investment decisions.
I'm Nicole Horry. Thanks so much for joining us on ThinkTech.
I'm Maria Kashem. See you next time.
Aloha, and thank you for joining us. If you're just tuning in, you are watching The Art of Life. I'm your host, Willow Chang Alion. We're here every Friday, inshallah, God willing, from 2 to 3 p.m. here at ThinkTechHawaii.com. We have many programs throughout the week. We certainly encourage you to come and join us. Tune in when you can. Send us an email. Like us on Facebook. All of that good stuff. If you have some ideas, some rants, some raves, we would love to hear. And notice I actually said a rant. If you have a rant, send that our way as well. But try to do it in a nice way. We're still listening. We have our guest with us, and I'd like to offer my apologies because I have not addressed you properly. This is Dr. Raj Kumar, and he is, he's basically a Renaissance man. He is a published author. He has 3 books published and 2 more coming down the pike.
Yes.
He is a public speaker. He is a noted activist. He is also a facilitator in trying to create awareness and appreciation for peaceful practices using Gandhi as his method. So, thank you for joining us again.
Sure, my pleasure.
We were just talking about the Gandhi Festival, and this is an annual event that you have on his actual birthday, which is October 2nd, and this is the 8th year. Me
Yes.
being half Chinese, that's very auspicious. This is the 8th year,
True.
and I would like to let our audience know if you would like to join. It's what, from 5 to 6:30 p.m.?
It's going to take place outside of Honolulu Zoo from 5 to 6:30 p.m. in Waikiki, and it's a free event to the public. Please join us and support the mission, noble cause of peace. And this year we'll have great activities happening around the same time. We will have taiko drum performance. We will have a great dance by Willow and her group. And we will have crystal bowl and flute music. We will have a Indian meditation known as Vipassana meditation. And then we will have some speakers representing our Honolulu Mayor, Kirk Caldwell, and we will have a Hawaiian blessing. And our program will be televised live worldwide by Olelo Community Television on Channel 49. So please watch and tune in if you cannot attend the event. But I would encourage to attend. This will be a great experience for you, your family, and children to watch the multicultural dances. And the best thing we have, Interfaith Conference. You will learn something from the wisdom of wise community spiritual leaders from different churches.
And that's something I want to add. So there was the invitation, and we are encouraging you to come and join us in person. You'd be surprised how many people live here in Hawaii and never make it to the beach. Don't know where the zoo is. It's at the corner of Kapahulu and Kalakaua Avenue. If you do not know, do yourself a favor. They've got brand new parking lot there. It's no problem. It even takes charge cards, so there's no excuse. Bring a mat. There's going to be food for purchase, if I recall.
Yes, there will be Down to Earth is offering free snack for public, and then we will be passing out free water bottle to public, and there will be some free psychic reading, and there will be some other booths displaying their health products or the material about the peace, world peace. So, and the attraction of the program is the Royal Hawaiian Band, which will be playing the national anthem of Hawaii, Pona'i, national anthem of India and US.
That's wonderful. So I have to confess, I've been there several times, and for our viewers out there who are unable to join us in person, I would like to set the stage and let you know what it's like. This is all taking place at the base of a beautiful bronze statue of Gandhi, and he is depicted walking with his walking stick.
We have Gandhi statues, around 6 statues in different states in America, but this is one of the best statues. People have come all over the world and they have admired. It looks very real. And that statue is just not a mere statue, it's a symbol of freedom, peace, and justice. So please come and watch and see what Mahatma Gandhi has done for the humanity and how you can be inspired by his teaching and the speeches by the interfaith leaders and social leaders. So
it's wonderful. It's also, we are underneath the beautiful expanse of a banyan tree with its
nice
beautiful
sunset.
roots. The sunset is wonderful. The birds are coming in and they're talking story, and you know, it's a very magical experience. I think you can really feel, it restores your faith in humanity because you can feel that everybody present has the same intention, even though it might be a different concept of peace. Everybody's working towards and putting their heart and their minds toward this universal goal of how can we foster peace within our community. And I think something that's very telling is that in the program, it's not limited to creating simply an Indian or a sub-Indian continent identity. You really have a very wide, diverse representation, which is a reflection of Hawaii itself.
also in our the institute, Peace Institute, we have a diverse group. I do not call it only the Gandhian organization, I call it a universal organization. We have people from every culture part of our board, so you can join as a member, you can be a volunteer, you can be a peace activist, or you can be a supporter of our movement.
I love that. It's wonderful. And something else I have to add is that you always have young people. You reach out to youth groups and they are always contributing. And I remember, even though it feels like a long time ago, when I was younger, sometimes you feel that there's this division between like adults and young people, or you're stuck on the kiddie table forever. I think it's wonderful that you give this opportunity for the youth of Hawaii to participate.
I believe the way a tree is hidden in a seed, the same way our future is hidden among these youth. If our youth are indulged in drugs and violence, how can we have a better society? How can we have a safer place to live in this world? We have to shape their future. We have to give them the values. We have to teach them compassion, kindness, gentle approach, and non-violence. If we don't cultivate the seeds of those good qualities or values, how they can become a good product in the future? So we don't want them to grow with an ego, like parents always say sometimes, you know, be number one, you know, beat everybody, this and that. When we use these kind of words in our home environment, children bring this kind of language and behavior to the school and in the society. So home is the best school. Home is the first school.
You mentioned something so important, because right now, and this is unfortunately seems to be a constant within our nation, which is there is a perpetual cycle of violence. We just had a shooting incident at the Naval Shipyard.
Workplace violence. Exactly. It's happening for many years. The reason we live in a culture of violence. We do not know how to promote non-violence or live with peace within ourselves. Peace is not a jacket where you can put on today and take off tomorrow. Non-violence and peace are some kind of special jacket that once you put it on, you're committed to it, and you will practice and follow it and teach others. You know.
Practice, absolutely. You had mentioned the importance of family, and this is an idea that many people have suggested, and I think it's very important, which is the idea of family dinner. The family dinner, even though people are busy and they're holding multiple jobs, even if you could commit to one day out of the week to sit down and have dinner with your kids or your spouse, your loved one, your roommates, to foster the intimacy and the relationship, so people feel a connectivity and they feel that they relate to people. I think that that's something that's so important. And when people have moved away from breaking bread and just eating together, you actually lose something within the fabric of society. What are your thoughts on
Well,
this?
Buddha said the desires are the cause of the sorrow. in our modern society, everybody wants to have 2 paychecks in the family. Children are neglected.
Yeah.
And we, according to psychological research, we do not spend even 2 hours quality time with our children, you know. And then just the mother alone cannot do everything. So both partner has to pitch in to take responsibility.
My mom did almost everything.
That time was great, you know, when we were raised with the modern time, everybody's doing 2 jobs, 3 jobs, running after this money, and then we have so many bills to pay, this and that. That's what I said earlier. We got to learn to live within our means. We cut down the unnecessary expenses. Do not abuse your charge card. Do not borrow too much money, you know, and be happy what you have. So the other sad part I see in the society, when both parents are working and after 2 p.m., there's nobody to supervise children or teenagers between 2 and 5 p.m. That's why they indulge into bad habits and they get influenced by their peers and then go on drugs and then do other things. There were about 400 incidents of burglary happened in Kailua about a few months ago. So why this is happening in Hawaii? I never heard of that before.
Yeah, that's true.
Crime rate is going up and up because of this bad influence.
So we're going to return to that concept of it takes a village, and we've heard this before.
To raise a child.
Yes.
Yes.
And so we have a couple things that I'm hearing. The idea that it takes a village, personal responsibility, to be interactive with your loved ones, your children, your family, to make it a practice, to make it a priority, to give it some importance, to take time out.
There is no substitute for parents. You can give your child to a babysitter, but that does not give that quality of time what the parent can give to their child, you know.
I come from a pretty traditional family. My father worked and my mom was a stay-at-home mom, which was actually very unusual at the time, and so I feel like I really benefit from that. And it's really treated as a luxury these days to have one parent, whether it's the father or the mother, who can stay home. But I would assert that if you can make that time to have that meal and ask them how their day is. I teach students as well of all different ages, and I usually ask my teenage students, like, when you go home, does your tutu, your grandma, your mom, your dad ask you how your day is? And they just looked at me like I was crazy. And I was asked every single day. I didn't really have a choice in the matter. My mom would say, how was your day? What did you learn today? She knew who my friends were, and I had to call home. Yes, that's right. Like E.T., I had to call home every time I went to the movies. Even though she had seen me half an hour before with my friends and she knew who I was with, I still had to call. At the time, I thought it was very uncool, man, and I thought I was very tethered to my mom, but in retrospect I'm very grateful for that. Do you think that perhaps lax parenting has contributed to this just relaxed society?
Well, I suggest people, if a mom can stay home for first 2 years of child's life, because during that period mostly brain development happens.
You gotta move to Germany for that.
And the child can receive more love, touch, tender, or support from parents, grandparents, and family member. He will grow in a safe, he or she will grow in a safe environment, a nurturing environment. And then his personality will be shaped by age 15, then he will become a good product in the future. So the whole society depends on the family system, what the boundaries are, what the subsystem is. You know, if we have a strong, healthy boundaries, a subsystem, the society will be strong, nation will be strong. You know.
Now, that little devil's advocate is speaking in my ear here. Some people don't necessarily feel that they relate to their family of origin or the people that they're genetically attached to. So there's also this idea that we can at some point create our family, or we can find kindred spirits. I think volunteering is a great way of doing that, finding people who you have a shared passion and interest with. You have an organization. If people wanted to meet like-minded individuals, how could they get in touch with you?
They can email us at cosmicyoga@yahoo.com. They can go to our website, www.gandhianpeace.com. Email me. I'll be glad to answer. Also? I'm on the Facebook. Yes.
That's wonderful. And I know that you folks have meetings and you plan events throughout the year. It's not exclusive to simply Gandhi's
I give lectures in different schools. My goal has been to inspire youth and approach all the principals of the middle school and encourage them to establish a peace department similar to what Iolani School has in Hawaii. That's a very great role model, and every school should have the peace department. Every major government system should have a peace department before we pursue a war. So we should consult with the peace department, so that way we will have less wars and more peace on earth.
So what I'm hearing is we have the opportunity to start at the beginning instead of trying to fix something once it's already been broken.
Yes.
Wonderful. That is so great. I think we're almost running out of time. I would like to just give you an option to say something that you would like to address our public, if there's something you'd like to share.
Well, as I said earlier, the joy of life is in peace, living peacefully and do something good for others. One of the major goals of my life is to humanity selflessly and leave a good legacy behind, what Gandhi and other leaders have done, and then people can follow your footsteps. That's the message.
Gandhi said, so easy.
Gandhi said on this flyer, "My life is my message."
Absolutely. And you also have this, and there's 3 wonderful quotes. The weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. I think that's something wonderful to think about. A man is but the product of his thoughts, and what he thinks he becomes. This is a direct link of saying what you think you become. It's like Descartes.
Yes, Gandhi said, "You must be the change you wish to see in the world."
This is the one we see most frequently, and I think something that was rather popular in the 90s was think globally, act locally.
Very true.
Don't try to take on everything by yourself. Just start with yourself and start within your immediate ohana and your family, and you're bound to do good things.
The purpose of life is not just eating, sleeping, and mating. Purpose of life is to do something meaningful for others and create a heaven on earth.
I like that. I think Hawaii is pretty close to that. We
Yeah,
have a
very
few things to address, but we're pretty close to heaven on
We
earth.
live in a diverse community in Hawaii. It's beautiful, and how we are promoting peace from Hawaii. We can be a role model for the rest of the world, and it's my desire that one day Hawaii will become the headquarter of world peace.
I like that. I always think that we're the belly button of the universe. So on that wonderful note, I'd like to thank my guest, Dr. Raj Kumar, for joining us today. Don't forget, you're welcome to join Dr. Kumar and myself will be at Gandhi's birthday. That's October 2nd.
Wednesday,
It's a
5 to
Wednesday.
6:30 p.m. in Waikiki.
And bring your cameras. It's going to be beautiful, I promise. And hope to see you next week with our guest. We have a special guest. I don't know if I'm at liberty to say who, but our show's going to be from Maui, so it's going to be one of those famous Skype calls. Tune in to see who we have slated for that special episode of The Art of Living. I'm Willow Chang Alion. This is ThinkTech Hawaii, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.